Alright guys, so we have the long-awaited video for the Dokkanfest Raditz. That's right, one of the worst, considered one of the worst Dokkanfest in Dokkan history. And yeah, we're going to do a video on him. I'm not glad, I never really intended to pull him. You're probably wondering, well, how does that work then? You summoned. I just saw the discounts. I was like, it'd be funny if I actually got him. I need Trunks, I need Kid Gohan, I need dupes in SSJ4 Gogeta. I kind of want Nappa as well, especially while having LR Grade Vegeta. That would help him out a lot, especially with the extra defense and support. And I thought, you know, it's 100 stones, why not? I actually managed to pull him. I even managed to pull that AGL Super Saiyan Vegeta from Golden Week, which was actually a pretty decent pickup. I'm happy I got that, but we managed to pull him. And at least, I guess, just like it said in the short, for the content, you know, so I got more content to make since I've pulled him. I know he's not great, but more content's more content, so I can't really knock it. We do have him on his 200% lead. Which of course is Saiyan Saga or Space Traveling Warriors, or Saiyan Saga and Space Traveling Warriors, or Pure Saiyans and Space Traveling Warriors, which his 200% lead isn't great, I'll be honest. Saiyan Saga Space Traveling Warriors is very niche. You're looking at Raditz himself and any other Raditz units. You're looking at Scouter and Great Ape Vegetas, Nappas, and that's pretty much about it. And then Pure Saiyan Space Traveling Warriors is a little bit bigger, but still not great. Again, you're looking at those three units, Bardock's, Turles, who will get his EZA in like a week or so, is a very good EZA once he picks that up. It's still not the biggest of 200% categories, but being a Pure Saiyan's lead, it is also very handy. It's just his 200% isn't that great, but combining the two is not a bad idea. We do actually have him on rotation straight, which was great. We currently have him linked up with actually his pups. We've got him linked up with his daddy in the Dokkanfest AGL Bardock, who of course also needs an EZA. Raditz already needs an EZA. So we've got a few, I'll say a few, we've literally got like one of his decent links active. We've got Saiyan Warrior Race, Saiyan Lineage, Prepared Battle, Fierce Battle. We're missing Brutal Beatdown and Nightmare, which is like an extra, what, attack plus like 20% or 15%, something like that. Yeah, 20%, and Coward is a key link, which is just a terrible link. So it's not a bad link set. He actually links to quite a lot of typical Saiyan units, you know, both LR Goku and Vegeta's, the tech and strength one. Broly units, Heart Virus Goku, SSJ2 Transform and SJ3 Goku. Tech Hailing Caulifla, Dokkanfest Broly. He links not bad with quite a few units. It's just the team that he goes on, which is the major one in Pure Saiyans. And then, is there any other categories? Goku's family Pure Saiyans. He's not getting on any of those teams because he's nowhere near good enough ahead of all of those other units that could go on there with those units I've suggested he links okay with. So that's kind of the huge downside, obviously. And then he's on Terrifying Conqueror Space Traveling Warriors, which Terrifying Conquerors is a very good category. And of course, Ginyu 200% is the Terrifying Conquerors and Space Traveling Warriors category lead. And if you have Ginyu and the side banner units, then you got the likes of Freezers and Coolers, etc. He's not getting on there either because there's no synergy for him. So yeah, it really does hurt him, especially because he's not good enough either, but it does hurt him in that front. But we do have a few links active, sorry, and turn one with those links, again, missing Nightmare and Brutal Beatdown. We do have a 196k attack stat and 108k defense. Now, if this guy stacked or something, that wouldn't be too bad, but obviously we know he doesn't, so that's not the best to start with, but almost up to 300k attack stat, which that isn't bad. But then his passive is where, of course, we run into a lot of problems. And I did say this, and I still mean it. If he didn't have all these restrictions and added kind of conditions on his passive, he generally would be a pretty solid unit and a pretty good SBR unit. Like, he would be a monster in Super Battle Road if he didn't have all these extra conditions and restrictions in his passive. But over a 3 mil attack stat isn't great when you consider a lot of, like, the 200% leads and the latest Dokkanfest that have come out. Like, Margin Vegeta's main thing is damage reduction and defense, so putting out like a 4 mil attack stat isn't too bad for the trade-off in defense that he offers you. Then you have like the likes of Ginyu, who stack, so you can get into pretty ridiculous levels. Then you have what, Cell and Goku and Gohan from Golden Week. They are insane units. LRSSJ4s are just in a league of their own. So yeah, in terms of like a 3 mil attack stat, if this guy had like guard or like ridiculous damage reduction like Margin Vegeta and you could get it off relatively easy, having almost a 4 mil attack stat with 2 of his important attack links missing actually wouldn't be a bad thing because defensively he would be a beast. But unfortunately he doesn't have that going for him. But in terms of what he does greatly raise attack and defense on Super, which is actually pretty good it's just a shame that he doesn't really have much else to go with it. And he causes supreme damage to all enemies as well. So he's an AoE. Again, another reason why he would be a great Super Battle Road unit if his passive just wasn't cheeks. If it wasn't cheeks. Now, when Turles gets his EZA, you're probably actually going to want to run Raditz on rotation with him, which actually really does help him a little bit. Probably not too much in the grand scheme of things, but it's help he definitely needs. Because not only do they link quite well together, Brawl Beatdown, you have active Fierce Battle, 2 solid attack links, and you've constantly got that support that Turles has given. Of course, he's not EZA yet, so it's just attack plus 40%. Gives him a little bit of a buff, a little bit of a pick-me-up. I will put him in slot 2 to get Saiyan Lineage active. Actually, isn't that only a key link? Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. So, you know, once Turles gets EZA, you know, it might be sensible if you do have Raditz and it will help him out a bunch, especially with the support all the time, to actually have this as a rotation, especially because Turles is very good after his EZA. But what is he sitting on? He's on a 246k attack stat and 108k defense. Of course, that's the attack plus 40% he's getting. That's actually pretty good. And again, once Turles gets his EZA, him having that constant support, kind of like LR Kaioken Goku with the version Z LR update Goku, it works really well without kind of forcing him to look better than he actually is, which is quite difficult to do. But he's up to a 370k attack stat. It's okay, but it's just, you know, that's all he's getting at the start of turn. And again, this going for his passive 2.8 mil obviously isn't the best, obviously. But we'll go through what he does. So he gets attack and defense plus 150, which is fine. That's good. That's solid. Okay, that's not great, but we shouldn't be dead, right? 222, yeah, I mean, not the best, but we're still alive. He gets an additional attack and defense plus 50% when performing a super attack, and this is where Dokkan should have, that line of text for what he gets should have cut off there. An additional attack and defense plus 50% when performing a super attack, bang, that's it. The passive should have been done. That's it. Like, that generally should have been it. There you go. And immediately his attack stats looking a whole lot healthier, and he's got a little bit of extra defense, which is never a bad thing. That's where his passive for that bit should have stopped. Unfortunately not. He only gets the attack and defense plus 50%, which is what you saw last turn, which is when he was over a 3 million attack stat. Now, the 2.8 million attack stat he put out, even with attack plus 40% from Turles, and the majority of his links active, that's why he's putting out such a poor attack stat, is because the enemy doesn't have 50% less or 50% HP or less. And again, that's where that part of his passive should have just stopped. So you're only getting the attack and defense plus 50% when he performs a super attack, when you're facing one enemy, which of course we are, when that one enemy has his HP at 50% or less. Which, don't know why they added that. I mean, I kind of get it because of what happened with him versus like Goku and Piccolo and stuff, but it really hurts him. We're not going to use his active just yet because we still have a few more rotations to show him off on. I say show him off. I mean, we are showing him off, but it's not doing a whole lot for him. But yeah, it really hurts him. It really does hurt him. So, I mean, he will have the attack and defense plus 50% now on Super. So he's going to have the attack plus 40% from Turles. He's also going to have a few of his decent links active apart from Nightmare. And he's got the attack and defense plus 50% on Super because Goku is almost dead. So in terms of offensive numbers, this will look a little bit more impressive, but still nothing too great. But that's kind of what hurts him so much. Like, why add that? Like, 4.7 mil. If you just put a full stop at the end of when performing a super attack, 4.7 mil is a decent attack stat to have. It's not nothing too crazy, but it's not bad. It's not bad, especially if you had a dupe, or even with the 5 additional he has at 55%, and you hit an additional and greatly raised your attack and defense twice. And don't forget, he's AoEing. So having like an almost 5 million attack stat without the HP condition, and you're AoEing, especially if you hit an additional in Super Road, is great. But the enemy, you have to be facing one enemy, which means you're not getting that Super Road unless you're almost done. And the enemy is at 50% HP or less. Which is, as I said, the part that just really hurts him. Like, really, really hurts him. Which is such a shame, because I said if you got rid of all of these conditions, he would actually be a monster in Super Battle Road. But that's not all. So, the enemy has to be at 50% HP or less when he does perform a super attack. And he also gets an additional attack plus 100% and a high chance of performing a critical hit, which is also very good. hence why his attack stat jumped up. Yes, he has the support, but you're getting another attack plus 100%, which is good, and a high chance without any dupes at 55% of performing a crit is great, especially again an AoE where you can hit multiple enemies at once when you're on greatly raise your attack and defense as well. But the end, you have to be facing only one enemy, and that enemy has to have 50% HP or less, which just hurts him. So that means he's only performing at his best, which isn't that great, but only performing at his best, like, you know, hardly any of the time, because you have to wait for the enemy to pretty much almost be dead. The enemy has to be on half health or below for Raditz to actually start performing, which is crazy considering the amount of units that literally just get attack and defense plus XYZ amount when performing a super attack, and that's it. Honestly, it hurts him so much. An attack plus 100%, a high chance of performing a critical hit, but again, you need, it hurts him so bad. He also performs critical hit within the same turn after receiving an attack, and he gets additional defense plus 150, but you have to be facing 2 or more enemies, which we will do after we've tested him out here when he's facing 1. So basically, to get all these extra things, you either need to be facing 1 or 2 enemies, and you miss out on the other one, which would have been okay if they were guaranteed, and you'd have to jump through hoops to get them. And then he gets key plus 2 for the rest of the battle after delivering a final blow, which I kind of think is unnecessary because he's not an LR. He has quite typical Saiyan links in terms of key links. Having key plus 2 for the rest of the battle literally does nothing for him, especially when he delivers the final blow. Give him like an extra attack and defense or something, because he's not getting his 50% on super the majority of the time until they get to 50%. So that means he's performing terribly the majority of the battle you're in. Like, one half he's terrible, and the next half he's okay, I guess. But we do have Broly here, which means we do have the extra link of Nightmare added, so we got an extra attack plus 10%. So just in case, actually no, we still have a Whis active, and again we've got the Turles support. We're up to 265k attacks, that 108k defense, but Goku isn't on 50% HP. So without the 50% HP, or without Goku being down to a 50% HP, this attack stat, even with the extra attack link being active, isn't really going to be anything impressive. Actually, he's probably there now. Yeah, 5 mil. 5 mil. Now that's pretty good. That's solid. But then again, the rest of his passive is just kind of locked up behind all these other extra conditions. And again, the extra key plus 2 for delivering on the final blow is just so unnecessary, and I don't get, like, why would you give him key plus 2 on a unit that doesn't need the extra key, especially because he's not an LR? Why would you give him that? Like, I don't get it. Why would you give him that for delivering the final blow? Something that's just completely unnecessary. Like, again, attack and defense would have made sense. Extra attack, like, one or the other would have just made a lot more sense. But instead, you decided to give him key plus 2 for the rest of the battle for delivering a final blow. I mean, if you're running Raditz on a team where he's literally not getting any links or next to no links active, especially key links, then sure. But why would you do that? I mean, you're not going to be doing that anyway because it's just not a good unit. But it makes no sense. It literally just makes no sense. It's like they kind of made Raditz bad on purpose. Like, that's the only thing I can put it down to, is they tried to make him bad on purpose. I say tried, they succeeded. But it's like they tried to do it on purpose. Like, or maybe they do a typical Dokkan thing, which they've done for a few years now, which is they overvalue AoE units, which, yeah, Raditz doesn't have much value. But we do have the attack plus 40% right now. And we also have the support from the Broly and Paragus. So we've got 2 sets of support along with the majority of his links active, apart from Nightmare. So the 280k attacks, that 125k defense. Goku's not at 50% HP or below. We're going to get him there because of the Dokkan attack. I'm not even trying to set this up so he actually gets at half health before Raditz, like, attacks Goku. But it ends up working that way. So it may not be difficult to, like, get the extra attack and defense plus 50% and attack plus 100% and the high chance of pulling a critical hit by having the enemy at 50% or below when you're facing 1. It may not be difficult to get it, especially because some of the units he could end up going on categories with can do that much damage and naturally you're going to get there anyway. It's not difficult, But the problem is that means Raditz is performing terribly for at least half the fight. He's doing no damage. 5.3 is also quite nice, but that means he's doing no damage, or next to no damage, especially in comparison to units and how much they do now. Like a 3.5 million crit at 55% is actually pretty good. But that means for the majority, even with Turles, who's given him attack plus 40%, which again will be a viable rotation about in a week and a half when he gets his EZA, you're hitting like a 2.8 million attack stat, and that is on a 200% lead, by the way. A 200% lead, and you're doing shy of 3 mil, which is crazy to think about. Or just crazy to think in general. That means for half the fight, he's not even doing a 3 mil attack stat, which is terrible. His defense isn't in a good spot, which means he's going to be open to quite a bit of damage. And for the next half of the fight, when he is going to get the attack and defense plus 50% performing the super attack, the attack plus 100%, and also the high chance from a crooked, then he's performing relatively well. Which, you know, around about a 5 mil attack stat is solid, but not having like ridiculous defense when you're facing one enemy. Like his defense is okay with a 5 mil attack stat. It's still not great. It's okay, but it's not great. So we're going to pop his active, which greatly raises attack temporarily, causes ultimate damage, and stuns the enemy for 1 turn, which the stun will be very handy. The guaranteed stun will be handy in Super Battle Road, but I guess enjoy the animations.
That all, huh? Is it my turn now? Time to show you what real power looks like. God damn!
Okay, so I popped in like the first stage of like movie edition red zone to face 2 or more enemies. So he's going to perform a critical hit with the same turn after receiving an attack, and he gets an additional defense plus 150% when facing 2 or more enemies. Literally, this is the last turn we're seeing to round out the video. He has 172k defense, which is actually not bad, but considering you have to be facing 2 or more enemies, and this is why I say he would be such a monster in like Super Battle Road. Because again, if you get rid of that HP restriction and facing only 1 enemy, he's getting attack and defense plus 50% in form of super attack, which means his attack stat will jump up to close to 5 mil. Once he super attacks, his defense will jump up, and then in Super Battle Road, he'll have an extra defense plus 150. So that is 172k defense at the start of turn, and then the attack and defense plus 50%, which is multiplicative on super, which means his defense will be in an okay spot. He'll be greatly raising attack and defense on super as well, and hitting an AoE, which again is why I said he would be an absolute monster in Super Battle Road if you kind of just got rid of all of these restrictions and conditions of facing 1 enemy. You know, they have to have 50% HP or less. He would actually be really good there. I mean, how much has he taken on super before he supered? It's okay, it's actually not bad, but 1.5 mil attack stat because they're not at 50% HP or less. Get rid of that portion, the 1 enemy and 50% HP or less, and as I said, he is a monster in Super Battle Road. He is a genuine monster in Super Battle Road. And again, like that, if you get the additional, if you're lucky enough to get the 5 additional, if he's at 55%, or maybe you have dupes in, if you hit an additional, attack and defense plus 50% when performing a super attack again, you greatly raise your attack and defense for the 2nd time, which means he's doing, you know, over 5 mil this time. And he's greatly raised his defense twice while having that 150 when facing 2 or more enemies in a Super Battle Road environment, which defensively means he's solid for the remainder of that turn, especially if you have an item active. He will take no damage or next to no damage, and he'll be safe on supers. It doesn't really matter if we die, but he would obviously be safe on supers. And the damage he'll put out, as I said, is pretty much 5 million on an AoE. Again, in a Super Battle Road environment. Then he'll do over 5 mil again, which means you've done pretty decent damage, and defensively, he's very good for the remainder of the turn. Genuinely, if you just get rid of that restriction in his passive, as I said, he is a monster in Super Battle Road. An absolute monster. But because of that restriction, because of that condition in his passive, he sucks cheeks! Like, this guy sucks so much. I think he sucks better than, like, Lisa Ann, like a Bella Danger and, like, Violet Myers, my guy. Like, come on. Tiana Trump would be proud of you. Like, even his link set's okay. Like, Coward's a terrible link, but In terms of Saiyan Link, Saiyan Lineage, Saiyan Warrior Race, Prepared for Battle, Fierce Battle, you can link him with quite a lot of Saiyan units on pure Saiyans, but because he's so shit, you can't link him with anyone in that team because he's not getting on any of those teams ahead of anyone. Generally, what could have been with this guy? I'm not gonna lie, I know it's memed that he's so bad, but like, he actually generally could have been somewhat decent in Super Battle Road if they just got rid of those restrictions and that in his passive. But damn, man, you know, we gave him a go. Chad Zits here, and he's here to stay. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you're new. This is one of them times you don't need to let me know what you think, because I know what you think, trust me. But I'll see you in the next video, guys, and peace!